Hello everyone. Welcome to Super Coaching UPSC by Textbook. This is Venkatesh, your faculty for geography. In this session, we'll discuss about a variety of the beautiful lakes in India. Where are they located? What is their significance? How UPSC can ask questions out of this? Right? So, keeping this into consideration, we'll discuss about this topic about the beautiful lakes of India. Right? Can you name such names? Can you name the some of the beautiful lakes of India where UPSC, where the questions can be asked? Yes. Only for understanding only we can have that idea and perspective of beautiful lakes, but how the questions can be framed in UPSC, it's a product of always about the uniqueness, the map based things, the current affairs, the significance out of that lake. So without much wastage of time, let us understand about the lakes and how questions are asked out of the lakes, right? So if you see the lakes, a lake is nothing but a water body surrounded by land, water body surrounded by land. Now, this water body surrounded by land is a very simple example, is a very simple meaning about lake, isn't it? Right? Yes, Faiksan says Vular Lake. That's wonderful. That is one important lake called as Vular Lake. Very good. Yes, any other one? So if you talk about these lakes before you give the names and all, if you talk about how they are formed, let me tell you one thing. There is so many varieties of formation of lakes. There is so much amount of things which we can learn out of it. Certain lakes are freshwater lakes, where there is a dominance of fresh water, where the river happens to be an inlet or an outlet. Maybe the river is originating from that, or there is an outlet, or when there is salt concentrations which are high, it can be a salt water lake. By the way, can you differentiate between a salt lake and a freshwater lake? It's all about the availability of salt content. If there is a dominance of more particles where the salt is unable to unable to move further and gets dumped into a certain area, and where the lake happens to be there, exist, that happens to be a salt water lake. Right. Any further examples can you give? Any further examples? Yes, good afternoon, Ashfa Rizvi. Any further examples can you give? Okay. Now, if you see the formation of these lakes, every formation of a lake is a very, very unique variety. So, the lakes which are formed. Now, while you are trying to prepare about UPSC preparation about the lakes, you have to see it from multiple perspectives of, let me tell you this and then I'll come back to the point. You have to see how to prepare this topic. The preparation of a topic should come across with respect to the idea of how we are focusing on how they are formed. Not every time. What is the significance? Any particular uniqueness out of that lake? And as well as mapping. So when they ask about questions about certain lakes in India, how do they ask? They ask about in this way. Say, for example, how do you think that Vular Lake is formed? How do you think that a lake like, say, Vembanad Lake, which is a lagoon, how it is formed? Such kind of queries they can ask. They can ask you which are fresh water, which are salt water. That is one such query they can ask. Any uniqueness, for example, there is something called as Loktak Lake. Loktak Lake, they can ask about the uniqueness of Loktak Lake, where you find the vegetation floating, which we call it as Fumdis. Fumdis, the vegetation floating. and the mapping as well, which we all know. Mapping, geography is incomplete with mapping, especially for the competitive exam, right? Yes, good afternoon, Nargis, Ashfa, right? Can you name some lakes? Can you name some lakes? Yeah. So with this, when you talk about the formation of the lakes, there are multiple varieties of formation of a lake. For example, there is a volcano which got erupted, and from the volcano as well as the volcano, there was a depression which created, and along the depression slowly water got accumulated. That is what we can call it as volcanic lake. For example, you see this one. This is the surface. This is the surface. Slowly there was a lake which got developed here, and this is the, what do you say, the crater. This is what we call it as the crater at the upper portion, the crater, and this is the vent. And after the eruption, this is the flatland, and here you will find the water body which will be developed. This is a volcanic lake. Similarly, we have a tectonic lake. Tectonic lake. For example, what happened? Tectonics means what? Plate movement. We have the mighty Himalayas. The Himalayas are formed with respect to the plate movement. We have the Eurasian plate on one side, and you have the Indo-Australian plate on the other side. Both are colliding. It is the Indo-Eurasian plate hitting into the Eurasian plate. As it is colliding, there is a movement of the surface around it. As there is a movement, a part of the Earth's surface will be blocked. The elevation of that region will be lower than the surroundings. When such surroundings are slowly accumulating water from the other things, that turns into a lake. That is what we call it as a tectonic lake. Say Wular Lake happens to be a tectonic lake. Yes, Manish is talking about Wular Lake. Sachin is talking about Astamudi and all such things. Very good. So this is the Wular Lake. Then similarly, we also have a something called a very famous lake in Maharashtra called as Lonar Lake. Lonar Lake. Now, what is Lonar Lake? Lonar Lake is what? It's about a crater lake. Now, it's a crater or a meteoritic lake. There was a huge depression which was created by a big depression, like big meteor which hit the Earth's surface. And that hit, the diameter of that area happens to be around 1.8 square kilometer, 1.8 kilometer rather diameter from this side to the other side. And that depression, a wall-like structure where the water got accumulated over a period of time, vegetation has developed. Even the man-made activity or the man-made constructions like a temple was also been found there, right? They have also developed a temple there, the people there, right? So Lonar Lake happens to be, yes, Sachin, Asfa, Gayatri. You will see that Lonar Lake is one such kind of thing which is very, very unique. Now, these are the formations. Okay, right. Oxbow Lake. Now, what is an oxbow? What is an oxbow? It's all about formation, just for understanding. So, you have a river which frequently meanders like this. Okay. This is not the method, right? Yeah. You have a river which meanders like this. Now, what is happening over a period of time? Imagine that meanders are sometimes not just like that. Meanders are the channel pattern of a river in the plains. Sometimes the meanders will be in such a way that they are very, very steeper like this. Look at the meander now. It is actually flowing like this. Now, when the meander floats like this, because of the movement of the water, because of the movement of the particles in the lake, in the river, or because of the climate change beyond this region, sometimes a lake which is developed like this will be cut off and it will start flowing like this. Now, what is happening? For example, you see here, when the water is actually moving like this, no, this is how the water moves. So, the nature of how the water is moving in this way, it will erode the edges. As it erode edges, the gap between two crusts or two troughs, which we can call the wavy like pattern here, that will be reduced, and a part of the old channel will be left over, and the river will start getting a new channel like this. This new channel is what we call it as Oxbow Lake, right? Right? So such kind of thing. So Oxbow Lake is a lake which is found out of a meandering of the rivers. This is one such formation. This is what we call it as an Oxbow Lake. Then a lake which are found around the glacier edges where slowly the water starts melting. We can have the glacier lake. When there is a depression like feature, when the watershed of the surrounding area of a desert takes to a certain place where there is an accumulation of the water, maybe because of the topography and all, that is what we can call it as a oasis, right? Or we can also construct a lake for human activities, like about supply of water towards a big city, like about irrigation facilities. Can you name one kind of a man-made lake? Yes, Sachin, Manish. Yes, formation of lake during meandering is called as Oxbow Lake. Manish, that's good. Sachin was giving multiple examples about examples of lakes. That's good. That's good, all of you. You are contributing to decent variety of the things. So artificial lake, Gobind Sagar Lake, it's a man-made lake. Harike wetland, which is a man-made lake for the reservoir, right? So such kind of things. So what they can ask you about is, whenever you talk about lake, understand whether it is fresh water, whether it is a tectonic, whether it is a what is salt water, whether it is a thing like artificial lake meant for irrigation. So such kind of things will actually give you an example of how they can ask questions out of that. That is number one. So please understand the formation of any kind of a lake. Then understand the significance of any lake. Generally, what are the significance of lakes? Can all of you, can you identify? Can you identify the significance of lakes, my dear? Can you? Significance of a lake? Let me see the comments. Significance of a lake. See, any ecosystem will provide ecosystem services, no? They provide food, water. So definitely source of water, surface, it's a source of surface water. It also helps in replenishing groundwater replenishment, right? It is an important, usually all the lakes, the Ramsar wetlands, all the Ramsar wetlands, they happens to be, in other words, the dhabas of our migratory birds, right? Migratory birds, dhabas, yes. Migratory birds. What do you say? The temporary homes. We can say temporary homes. There was one survey which was conducted. There's a bird called as Amur falcon. It moves all the way from Russia, enters into Nagaland, Duyong Lake. Now, Nagaland happens to be the falcon capital of the world. Falcon capital of the world, because the huge numbers of Amur falcons which it receives. So there is a lake called Duyong Lake there, and as the bird travels, there was an international institution by name BirdLife International. You know what they have done? They have done about a survey of how it is moving all the way from their origin towards the destination by putting a GPS chip into it, and they want to try to identify the migratory birds patterns, the paths, the areas which they are traveling, and where they are settling, or where they are taking a break in their journeys. Because of the harsh climate in the Russia, they migrate. So as they migrate, they try to identify the places. So as they have identified the places, they came to know about the lakes which are very, very significant. How do you think that certain lakes are given importance by Ramsar? They study about the significance with respect to the activities with respect to the migratory birds. It's a habitat. In other words, I would say it is a temporary habitat. What is temporary home? Habitat, right? Sachin says tourism. Of course, yeah, tourism. Without Dal Lake, people always are mesmerized with the beauty of the Dal Lake. Around it, surrounded by the mountains and the local things and all. Dal Lake, yes. Fishing is one thing, very important thing. Fishing as an activity. Fishing as an activity. There are some lakes in even in the big cities. What happens? These lakes are the centers where naturally they provide the ultra nutrients which get out of the city and all. That nutrients are used for the fishing, and you converting the, by having the sewage treatment plants and all, you are converting the, you are removing the waste and all, and you are actually providing certain nutrients to a certain water body, and this nutrient is useful for the preparation of the fishes or the food for the fishes. That's what we can say. Yes. Anything further? Anything further, Sachin? Irrigation is one. Yes. AFSA, irrigation is very well. Sachin says as well, biodiversity, that is good. Biodiversity flourishment, that is very, very important. Biodiversity. Fishing, here I am talking about the economic importance. Biodiversity, here I am talking about the ecological importance. Now, why I am trying to mention all these things at one place is, every kind of a certain lake will have a multiple perspective, no? Certain lakes will have certain multiple significance, but they are known for certain uniqueness. That uniqueness is what UPSC can sometimes ask us, isn't it? Right? So, keeping this into considerations, let us discuss about some of the lakes. See, there is a series of lakes here I have given you. Maybe the picture, while I wanted to showcase the class, it would be a difficult one, but definitely when you try to prepare on your own, it is very easy. I mean, when I give you the lake, when you give you the list of these lakes as part of the picture in my Telegram channel, it will be easier to survey. If you see across, you see here, there are a variety of lakes. Now, few important lakes which regularly they can ask, where they cannot miss is, you can see the Dal Lake as part of the Srinagar, the Vular Lake. Now, where is Dal Lake? Where is the Vular Lake? They can ask you such kind of questions. Then they can ask you about the questions which are in news. They can ask you about a lake here, the Somoriri Lake, the Pangangso Lake, which is having a connection with respect to the located at the border between India and China. Such kind of questions they can ask. Moving further, you can have the Harike wetland, Govind Sagar lake and all, which are associated with the irrigation activities here, right? You can talk about the brackish water lakes. The two prominent brackish water lakes here, the Chilika Lake and the Pulicat Lake, the brackish water lakes. You can talk about the lagoons. These are all the lagoons, the Vembanad Lake, Ashtamudi Lake, right? All such kind of things. So let us, before we discuss about all these things, there are so many ones, the Loktak Lake as well. Before we discuss, let's identify how to study certain perspectives of the lakes. Now, Chilika Lake. Where is Chilika Lake located? Where is Chilika Lake located? It is located in Odisha, at the boundary of, it's a brackish water lake. Now, what do you mean by brackish water? Brackish means mix of fresh and salt. Fresh water and salt water. Just for understanding, you should all know, salt water, when I talk about oceanic water, the salt percentage is around 33 parts per thousand. 33 to more than 30, we can call it as a salty water of the ocean. Brackish water is somewhere in between, say somewhere between 0.5 to around 25 parts per thousand dissolved salt content in 1 liter of water. That is what we call it as salt content of a certain thing. Yes, Sachin was saying about this salt water, 35. So when it is a fresh water, it is until 0.5 grams per 0.5 grams, and when it is until 25 to 30, 0.5 to 25 or 30, whatever the number, we can call it as brackish water. The mangroves are known for such kind of things, and then you will find the salt water which is beyond that. Sometimes when the salt content will becomes excessive, we will call it as hypersaline. Hyper itself is talking about more amount of salt. Agreed, all of you? Right? So keeping this, what you need to prepare about Chilika Lake? Understand where it is. It is a brackish water lake. It is a lagoon with estuarine character that sprawls around the east coast. Now, what do you mean by estuarine? Place where a fresh water is meeting the ocean. So, fresh water is meeting the ocean. So, it is the river, the minor rivers which are flowing here, which are part of the Mahanadi river system. The minor rivers, you will find this, right? So, Mahanadi river system is associated with this Mahanadi river system. Then it is one of the hotspot of the biodiversity in the country, one of the hotspot very near to Chilika Lake. Here you will find certain kinds of olive ridley sea turtles here. Olive ridley sea turtles. You can see here some of the sanctuaries associated with saltwater crocodile, ghadial. Ghadial will be found in the central parts of the India, whereas here you will find some saltwater crocodiles. And any lake is known for birds. So you also have here a Chilika bird sanctuary here. Chilika bird sanctuary. You know here there is a dolphin sanctuary. And it is very, very near to the cultural heritage site of Puri, right? Now, what question they can ask? For example, recently, if there is some kind of association things with this in terms of news with the pollution, or there is a loss of habitat for a certain animal as part of the environmental question, they can ask you such things. So, if you study about this topic, they will be asking the questions from that perspective only. Whether it is a freshwater lake, whether it is a saltwater lake, whether it is a brackish lake, or identify the location, match the following states and the countries, states and the lakes, or they can ask you from the current affairs point of view of any important animal which has recently been in news. If this turns out to be the habitat, definitely they would be asking, right? Okay, so let's move forward. This is about the Chilika Lake. Then moving forward, we also have the Pulicat Lake. Now you see, UPSC, how do they frame questions sometimes? Pulicat Lake is found completely in Andhra Pradesh. True or false? True or false? Pulicat Lake is found completely in Andhra Pradesh. True or false? Anyone? Can you see? Can you mention the answer? Let's see. Completely. Is it true or false? Afsa, Sachin, Gayatri, Manish, can you answer? It is false. Yes. Pulicat Lake, you see sometimes the closeness involved. 96% of the lagoon lies in Andhra Pradesh and only 3% is in Tamil Nadu, or in other words 90-10 you can say so. Majority of it is in Andhra Pradesh, only a part is in Tamil Nadu. You can see here. Sometimes they can ask questions out of this. You see here. This is the Tamil Nadu Andhra border line. Now, why this is important? I will tell you one thing. This is not a very, very static based question. The thing about Pulicat Lake is, it is part of the Sriharikota Island. It is the water body which is separating from the Bay of Bengal. The Sriharikota is surrounded by Bay of Bengal and the Pulicat Lake. In fact, lagoons, this is the lagoon. Lagoon is nothing but a narrow water body separated from a main water body. Now, Sriharikota is an island which is separating the main water body of Bay of Bengal from a narrow water body called as Pulicat Lake. That is what we call it as lagoon. And this separation can happen from a very kind of a continental island. This is an island part of the same continent which got separated or which got divided here, or it could be say example, it could be a coral island, any kind of thing, or it could be a sandbar. There might be deposition of sand here by the ocean, and that turned into an island, and there underneath and there develops some kind of a water body deep into the land. It could be anything. Whatever the reason is the formation, that's what you can call it as a lagoon. So please remember, Pulicat Lake is a lagoon. It is there at the boundary of Sriharikota. Now, when you prepare about the country of UPSC level, you should be also knowing about some of the dominant unique places of India. No, we all know the Sriharikota happens to be such a huge significant place with respect to our space exploration programs. Now, definitely you should know the water body around it. So you don't know whether it is location, Telangana, is it Andhra Pradesh, is it around Tamil Nadu? If you are having a confusion, today you are having a confusion, absolutely okay. Here we are here to learn. Now you are learning. On the day of the exam, if you don't know this question, I think it is a very, what to say, trickiness involved is there, isn't it? So with this perspective, you have to prepare. I don't mind you not knowing about certain things. There is always certain things which you are expected to know, certain questions which you might know. As of now, I put you in the bracket of might know. Acha, this is, but once I have given you the direction of might, once I have given you the direction of what is UPSC aspiring from you, you should not be missing such kind of things in the upcoming days. You have to learn. When you are learning textbooks, when you are taking about the current affairs, when you learn about anything, you have to see from this perspective as, अरे UPSC हमसे क्या चाहता है? Right? That is really very important perspective. So Pulicat Lake, I would definitely not miss this because of the Sriharikota Island. That's it. Beyond that, there is nothing but. What is Pulicat Lake? It's a brackish water lake, a freshwater lake, salt water. It is definitely not salt water. I would say it is a brackish, salt and because of the saltness of the ocean as well as the fresh water of the land. It is a lagoon. I have explained what is a lagoon. Chilika Lake can also call it as a lagoon. And it is a location here, the barrier island. Now you see, what do you mean by barrier island? Barrier island is the island which is separated by a dump layer of the sand spits and the bars. You all know the depositional landforms of an ocean. So because of that, it will be creating this. So that's it. Beyond that, there is nothing to explain here. Location, the significance of Sriharikota. Because of this, it becomes very important. Right. Let's go to the next question now. Next island, or sorry, the next lake. Now I'm talking about all the popular lakes. I'm giving a perspective. Here, this is an expectation which you should have definitely. We cannot remember all the lakes. Now itself, Ramsar wetlands are more than 80 now. There are so many other lakes which are beyond Ramsar wetland. We cannot remember everything. Right. What about Ramsar Vembanad Lake? What is called? It is also a lagoon. It is the largest lake in Kerala or the longest lake in India. The significance you can see here. This is the whole Vembanad Lake. The whole Vembanad Lake. The why Vembanad Lake is famous. Remember, when you talk about Kerala, don't you all talk about the boat race of Kerala on the festival of their annual change in the calendar, the Onam festival? You have a boat race in Kerala, no? So that popular boat race held every year in the month of August. This is where it is located. So definitely Vembanad Lake is an important thing. Now, this is what I can call it as also a lagoon, because there is a minor land which is separated from the separating the minor water body from the mainland. This is also a lagoon. So simply remember, Vembanad Lake, Kerala, part of the boat race is what I want you to remember. Beyond that, nothing much of an example. Then it is also known as Vembanad Khayal, Vembanad Khol, Punnamada Lake and Kochi Lake. Please remember, the backwaters of Kerala, we all known as Khayals. Backwaters of Kerala are known as Khayals. Backwaters of Kerala, they are known as Khayals. Is it fresh water? It is a, what do you say? It is the largest Kerala and largest lake. You will find such kind of things. Fresh water, you also find some saltness involved in it. Mix of both. Brackish only. Brackish only. Brackish. Right. Next, move forward. Now, see, the problem here is, sir, is it brackish or is it salt water? Please understand the topography, the climate of a region. Now, climate here is very, very heavy rainfall region. Heavy rainfall region naturally will get more fresh water. So, definitely the amount of salt content will be here on a lighter side rather than on the higher side. So, the brackish is more towards the fresh water, whereas on the other areas, the brackish is more towards the salt water. See, what is brackish water? The water between the fresh water and the salt water. That range is huge, no? 0.5 parts per thousand. Until there, it is fresh water. It is fresh water. That range is huge. So that's why this on the scale wise, it is needed towards the fresh water, because the topography of Kerala, the topography of the location of the Vembanad Lake, which is the western side of the Western Ghats, gets more amount of rainfall because of the obstruction of the Western Ghats of the monsoonal rainfall. Definitely, it will have more fresh water also. Have you understood this one, Sachin? Have you understood this? You got the description difference between this now? Right. Then further, you have a salt lake called as the Sambar Lake. Sambar Lake in Rajasthan. Now you see, now you can see here the salt pans where you are constructing about the salt industry. Now write about significance of lakes. If they ask, this is one such unique example. You can say the salt pans will be the source of economic activity. Source of economic activity, right? The salt pans will be the source of activity here. The Sambar Lake. Now, where it is located? Rajasthan. Largest inland salt lake, symbolizes the Aravalli Range depression, and it's a wetland of international importance. In other words, it is Ramsar. It's a Ramsar site. See, once upon a time, Ramsar site happens to the number happens to be less happens to be around 25. Once upon a time means not long ago. Not like when India was part of the socialist culture, not of the present capitalism culture. No, 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 no. It was only until recent years, 6-7 years ago, until 2017-16, you find that the number of Ramsar sites are only very less, 25. But within the last 5-6 years, the number has tripled, 25 to 80 now. So with that, remembering about all the 80 lakes is definitely not possible. What you can remember about the uniqueness, or what you can remember about is the things like which are part of the current affairs. Uniqueness and the significance of current affairs. Otherwise, there is no point. Or you can remember. It is just like how much you can remember. It's a game of now remembrance, not about understanding of geography. This is where the challenge lies. So Rajasthan, the Sambar lakes, salt lakes, right? Pangongso Lake, all is well. Right? Remember the song "All is Well." The Three Idiots, Pangongso Lake. It is the playing, but all is not well sometimes here. Maybe because of the Chinese intrusion. Maybe sometimes because of the kind of pollution which this lake has seen after All is Well. I mean, after the Three Idiots movie, the awareness about this beautiful place in Ladakh has gone like anything. Everyone wanted to come there thanks to the movie. Because of that, the number of visitors which this region and the surrounding hinterland has seen here, that has jumped. Because of that jumping, we all know India has poor environmental awareness, be it in terms of the attitude of the public, or be it in terms of the what things which you can do from the government point of view. We are always having this challenge with respect to the taking care of the pollution levels and the plastic waste and all. Pangongso Lake has seen such kind of things. So definitely it is one of the major challenge. So Pangongo Lake is a landlocked water body. Endoric means here it's a landlocked water body, and it is definitely a salt lake. Because it is landlocked, the salt gets encroached here, the salt gets accumulated here over a period of time. So it is salt water lake. In fact, Pangongso itself is high grassland lake. So as part of the local language here, it is called as the high grassland lake, and it is one of the world's highest saltwater lake considering the height 4,350 meters. You see 4,350 meters. It is higher than our highest point of the highest point of the peninsular India, that is the Anemudi Peak. So this is what the uniqueness of this. This is the uniqueness, and extending to almost 160 kilometers. One Pangong Tse Lake is not completely in India. It is at the border of India and China. So which lake is at the border of India, China? Which lake is known for the highest salt water in terms of the height? And which lake it's in general known for tourism, recently polluted like anything? Pangong Tse Lake. And you have seen so many movies which got permission here. They have taken movies. No, I think you all remember the movie, the visualizations of the Pangong Tse Lake. There are so many pictures which have been shown. So such are very, very always shown. Please remember, it is part of which region here? It is part of the Ladakh region. Ladakh, Pangong Tse Lake, Ladakh. Right. Loktak Lake. Have you ever seen this floating vegetation? This floating vegetation, all of you? Have you ever seen these floating vegetations? Floating vegetation. This floating vegetation is what we call it as Loktak Lake, what we call it as fumids. Fumdis. Fumdis. Not fumids, fumdis. The name which we give it called as fumdis, which are part of the Manipur. Loktak Lake, Manipur. And in fact, this vegetation floats. You see, the combination of the organic matter, the soil, and the nature here has made it so that these fumdis, which are here, the circular vegetation things, they float. Because of the floating, you find the uniqueness here. So one of the only floating vegetation park of India. Only floating vegetation national park of India. In fact, it's the only floating vegetation of the world itself. This Fumdis, only floating vegetational world. Maybe I'll try to identify some kind of unique videos which I can get out of this Fumdis, and I will try to post it in my Telegram channel about this Loktak Lake. Only floating vegetation national park. What is the national park which we call it as? Kibul Lamjau National Park. Kibul Lamjau National Park, part of the Loktak Lake. Now, one of the uniqueness about this is it is the largest freshwater lake in the northeastern India, famous for these fumdis floating over it, designated as a wetland of important importance. And one more concept which you can remember about Ramsar wetlands is a concept called Montreux's record. Montreux's record. You know what is Montreux's record? It's a record of the Ramsar sites where changes in the ecological character have occurred or occurring or are likely to occur. That means any man-made activity, be it in terms of pollution, say like the things like you are using more fertilizers like urea, the urea-based, nitrogen-based fertilizers in the hinterland of this lake, and this because of the rainfall and all, when the water enters into the lake, eutrophication happens, the ecological character of the region is losing. Maybe there's some kind of more algal blooms, right? Because of all these factors, if the ecological character of the region is changing, then that lake will be listed as part of the Montreux's record, which will help us to protect more. It is almost like, I would say in a very simple word, put it in ICU. In other words, you will get extra care. Because you get extra care, the ecosystem is being protected in a very way. Ultimately, what is the idea of Ramsar? Is it not for conservation? Ramsar, is it not for conservation? It is for the conservation of the wetlands. Sometimes that conservation becomes much more high. That is when you can see about it. Yes, right. The greenish color is due to the algae. How it is different from Fumdis? Right. Yes, Montreux record, Loktak Lake and Koiledo National Park in Rajasthan. Yes, Manish, I couldn't get your question. Right? I didn't get your question. So what here I'm trying to talk to you about this. These Fumdis are actually the vegetation which actually floats. The combination of the soil, the organic matter and all had led to the vegetative cover, the dead organic matter, able to float in the water. This floating thing together are what they are the soil as well. It is not just the algae here. That's what I'm trying to tell you. It's a combination of soil, the organic matter together. That is the uniqueness of this, which is the floating vegetation. In fact, they are vegetation. And along this floating vegetation, they will be having multiple techniques of collecting fishes. They collect the fishes, and that is an important economic activity and a source of food for the local communities there. That is what you need to remember. And one more important thing, it is famous for the animal which you can see here, the Sangai deer, or brown antlered deer, or whatever the Sangai deer, which happens to be the state animal of Manipur. State animal of Manipur. One trick for all of you. All the state animals of every country, every state in India, please remember, this is very important. All the state animals of our country, state animals of Manipur, which animal? Maharashtra, which animal? Madhya Pradesh, which animal? Kerala, which animal? Please remember from that perspective, because what happens is you will get to know the local biodiversity in detail, the most prominent ones. There was once a question asked about which of the which of the following national parks are known for more, what do you say, some deers, the ones which are part of the Madhya Pradesh. What is that name? I forgot. In Madhya Pradesh, what are the prominent deer which you find? In Madhya Pradesh, what is the prominent thing which you find? The national parks there are known for one particular deer. I'm not getting that name, forgot. Okay, whatever. Let me recollect, I will tell that. Now they asked a question. It is easy for you to remember. Have you remembered about the particular state animal of Madhya Pradesh? Barasinga. The Barasinga deer is famous in one of the national park. Kanha National Park. If I am not wrong, the Kanha National Park. So recently they have asked a question. Kanha National Park is dominant for which of the following national parks are more prominently known for Barasingas, the swamp deers. Now, they also given an option called Manas National Park. There also you find it. But this is having much more dominance. In fact, if you type Barasinga in Google, the first few pages itself, it automatically talks about the Barasinga, automatically talks about Kanha National Park. Of course, definitely you cannot have the authentic source of Google as your source. Go to the particular government website of Barasinga National Park. If you check that, it is clearly mentioning it as one of the important center where it is dominated by Barasinga deers. So such questions are very, very important. So this is the thing. Similarly here, Sangai deer, state animal of Manipur. And one uniqueness of this is it's also endemic deer. Also one more point for you here. Sangai deer is also known for dancing deer. Now why does it dance? The reason is simple. There are two things. One, this has some kind of a method which is known for its dances. And another thing, when it is moves in the floating vegetation of Fumdis, it looks like it is dancing because it is a topography which is making it to dance. Yes, there is one physical attribute of the deer itself which is known for dancing, and there is also this the Fumdis which are doing. So that's what we can call it as. It is about the things, right? Similarly, that is about the things about Loktak Lake. Then Vular Lake. one of the largest freshwater lake in India, freshwater lake located in Jammu and Kashmir. Definitely, remember, it is not part of Srinagar. It is not an urban lake. It is not an urban lake. So it is an offbeat lake. Offbeat lake. You know this Vular Lake? It is a tectonic lake. Tectonic lake. Why? Because the tectonic activities has created the landscape. This was the landscape. After the tectonic activities, certain land was got fallen down, or whatever it happened. Because of that, there was a depression created. The water got accumulated, and that turned into a lake. Similarly, Rift Valley Lake. When there is a depression, or when there is a faulting, you do find certain crustal blocks falling down, and that falling areas will be having more water. In fact, the Great Lakes of Africa, all these are Rift Valley lakes, right? Lake Tanganyika and all such kind of things, Rift Valley lakes of Africa. So similarly, this Vular Lake happens to be a tectonic lake, and you can see it is located in the Jammu and Kashmir area, formed as and fed by the Jhelum River. Now, one of the UPSC questions which they can ask, the love story of lakes, wildlife and the rivers. UPSC never gets bored out of this. So please remember that triangular love story of lake, animal life as well as rivers. So which river, which lake? Sometimes they will keep on asking that. So Jhelum River and Vular Lake, very, very prominent. This is one thing. The lake lies at an altitude of 1580 meters. Ignore. It also said to be a remnant of Satisar Lake that existed in ancient times. This is only to understand. This lake also has a small island at its center called as Zaina Lank. These are all some additional facts. As a student, I want you to remember these two things for sure. What is that? Vular Lake, it is part of Jammu and Kashmir. It is part of the region near Jhelum River. That's it. Beyond that, I don't want you to remember anything. Then when you talk about the Dal Lake, now it is a urban lake. That is, it is located in the Srinagar, where people will go there as part of the tourism. Whenever you talk about movement as such, whenever you talk about UPSC asking questions, this is one thing they can ask. About tourism as such, when we talk about Srinagar, this is one of the pictures they show. Right? One is the troubled border, or the troubled issue of Kashmir with respect to Pakistani terrorism and all such kind of things. The other thing is about this Dal Lake, tourism. The positive side they wanted to show. This is where they show the lake in Srinagar, urban lake, which is the second largest in the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir. It is also named the Lake of Flowers, jewel in the crown of Kashmir, or the Srinagar's jewel. Important source for commercial operations in fishing and water plant harvesting. This is one, not much. Dal Lake, right? Now this is the Lonar Lake. You can see it's a meteoritic lake. The diameter is almost around 1.8 kilometer area. You see Lonar Lake, it's a crater, meteoritic crater formed by a meteor impact. Now, this whole region, a meteorite got hit it, that got a depression, and that depression filled with water. So Lonar Lake, Maharashtra. That's it. Beyond that, not much. This is about some of the prominent lakes. Now what I will do, I will try to post some kind of unique lakes in India. Occasionally, whenever I read about multiple lakes and all, I will try to post in my Telegram channel about some unique things, and I will give you such kind of data. You can check it out always in my Telegram channel. Hope you all have liked this video. If you want the PDF file, you can get it from there. Any further doubts, you can ask me live now, or if you are not watching live, you have watched it later, you can also ask us. You can comment here. I will reply, or else you can put it in my Telegram channel. The doubt, I can always ask you. I can always be interacting with you directly. And every weekly also, I always create some kind of doubt session so that we are always in touch with each other. Right? Fair enough. Shall we end? Anything more to be asked, all of you? Anything more? Anything more? Shall we end? Afsa, Sachin, Gayatri, Manish. Right then. See you tomorrow again, all of you. We'll talk with about a new topic tomorrow. Until then, goodbye. Have a good time. Read well. Happy learnings. Jai Hind. Thank you.